Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here, coming at you with another manga review for Dr.Stone, manga chapter Z equals 158. Who's the scientist? Spoiler, it's Senku. Or Dr. Zeno. Technically it's both, but that's besides the point. So yes, I'm going to be doing another review for Dr. Stone, and when it comes to this chapter, this is the chapter where the flashback ends and we get back to the present storyline, so yay. And with that, we get to see best girl of the series. Well, there are two best girls in my opinion, both Luna and Nikki. She's my favorite, but yeah, we cut back over to the present. And before we get right into this review, I'd like to ask y'all to subscribe to my channel, leave a like and a comment if this is a video that y'all enjoy. And with that, let's get started. The chapter starts off with a really cool color page where we see Dr. Zeno and we see Stanley together, and in this chapter we get the concrete information that they are best friends, and that is very apt because we also get a quote from Aristotle, one of the most famous philosophers of not our time but just all time in general. Even when you're like 3,000 years into the future, you'll remember Aristotle. And we have the quote of, "What is a friend? A single soul dwelling in two bodies." And it's very apt that we get this quote while seeing Stanley and we see Dr. Zeno, and it's even more pertinent because we also have another pair of individuals that are best of friends that this quote could apply to with Taiju and Senku. And just even the confirmation that Stanley is the best friend of Zeno also confirms the parallels between Dr. Zeno and Senku, because Taiju is Senku's best friend, and in the other way of how Stanley is Dr. Zeno's best friend. So this just adds more parallels between the two scientists of this story that will come to a clash soon enough. So from the cover page, there's something interesting that I really wanted to talk about, and it's that we get this page of Senku and Yusui. They are in this sort of blue color gradient, and they basically sum up like what we know so far from the past two flashback chapters about how Senku and Dr. Zeno are mentor and mentee, and how they woke up at the same time and how they're fated to clash. And they're just like, that's the long and short of it. And it cuts from like what we know as the present into another flashback where, as I predicted, we're going to go into a flashback of what happened after Dr. Zeno woke up. We get the confirmation that pretty much everyone woke up at the same time. Stanley, the other scientists from NASA, they woke up at the same time, and these scientists are like, oh wow, everything is like, it was right, Stanley was right, we kept thinking, but these plebs, these staff members, probably didn't think enough to retain their life, but in actuality they did. But the main thing that I want to talk about is when it comes to this from present to flashback, for some kind of reason in Shonen Jump, it has this blue filter on it. And I find that interesting because I've never seen this kind of like filter or this type of effect on any other series except Dr. Stone. I've never seen this blue kind of gradient. I have seen like ways in which a panel or a page or an image is like distorted in the background to show that it's disconnected from the present time, but this is something new and interesting, and I want to know a little bit more about what this could possibly be. You could leave a comment that could explain it better than I can understand it. Maybe it has something to do with how the mangaka wanted to express that this is a transition from the present to the past, because when it comes to Dr. Stone, we don't get like a whole lot of like flashbacks to the past. We get the first chapter, which is that present time, and then we cut into the future as time passes on, and then that becomes the present. So maybe that can be explained to me a little bit more. I cannot really explain what it is, but if anything, I like it because it's different. And so yeah, we get everyone that was in the vicinity of Dr. Zeno, they're waking up, as I said, Stanley and the other scientists, but then we also get Carlos waking up, and as soon as he wakes up, he spits out the platinum ring that he swallowed. So luckily enough, he didn't swallow it, so they didn't have to wait for him to, you know, defecate the ring out. He just was able to spit it out instantly, and they're amazed about how well it was preserved, which makes sense because we know for a fact that the petrification goes throughout the entire body, and because it was in the mouth, it was an opening for it. And from what we're understanding, most like what happened is that it sealed up everything, the teeth and everything, to a point where it could still be preserved. Basically, it was a time capsule, and that's something that they explain it as. And Dr. Zeno sees this platinum ring, and he thinks to himself, oh, platinum. With this, I can make more nitric acid. And he also brings up an example of like, wow, and it's so glad that we woke up before anyone else, because let's just say if an MMA fighter woke up, he would basically take over the world, which I found interesting because as far as we know, like an MMA fighter didn't wake up. They most likely didn't fight off an MMA fighter, and if they did, what Dr. Zeno plans to use the nitric acid for is to make gunpowder and to use it to make weapons. So even if an MMA fighter were to come up, he could just shoot him dead. But what I found interesting is that this is kind of like the parallel to like what Senku was doing when he woke up. When he and Taiju were being chased by the lions, they used the nitric acid, the petrification formula, or unpetrification formula, to wake up Tsukasa, and he was known as the strongest middle schooler. And the fact of the matter is that he had the potential to take over the world if it wasn't for Senku using his science to overwhelm him. If anything, it's just a nice parallel showing that they have similar ways of thinking, as well as comprehending things in a similar vein, showing that they're parallels to each other. So yeah, after Dr. Zeno discovers the platinum and how it can be used for the nitric acid, which something else I want to bring up is also showing how Senku and Dr. Zeno uses the platinum in two different ways, because I think this just confirms the idea that even though he has the platinum, he hasn't found the way to create the petrification formula to depetrify people. And this is probably going to be dived in a little bit later, but this shows how Senku was more occupied with trying to restore the world, while Dr. Zeno wants to rule it over it. And he even explains this as we see the castle being built, and he yells out to the sky, it's like, oh, with the power of these weapons, I'll be able to rule over the new world, and with the help of my best friend Stanley, we can do it. Aren't I right? And Stanley just agrees with him as he smokes a cigarette. So Dr. Zeno is like saying, I'm going to use this nitric acid to take over the world and be the ruler that is like uncontested. No one can challenge me. There's no one on this earth at this moment in time with a similar scientific prowess that has the capability of taking me down. And then we cut back over to Senku, where we cut back over to the present storyline, where we have Senku and Ryusui just looking up at the sky, showing that the conversation that we saw at the beginning of the story most likely already happened, and Luna is thinking to herself, what are they talking about? What are they doing? Wait 1 second, that guy, he's very attractive. So we're establishing that chances are high enough that Luna is going to fall in love with Senku. But Luna even begins more thinking about, okay, no, I have to focus on this mission. I'm a capable gal. All I have to do is point out where Taiju is so that Stanley can shoot him with the sniper rifle. That's all I need to do. But I gotta be sneaky with it, because you know, I'm a capable gal. All I have to do is point at him. Spoiler, she doesn't point at him at all. If anything, she does the opposite. She points at herself, but more specifically, she just picks her nose. Like, not just once, but twice. But I'll get to that a little bit later. But I also want to mention this. We get Senku holding up the Medusa, the petrification device, the device used to, you know, turn people to stone. And he talks about how he plans on using this as a trump card against Dr. Zeno. And we have people like wondering, like, how, especially Taiju's like wondering, well, how are you supposed to do that? Does it work? And he explains no, but he also explains that Dr. Zeno is someone who is like very cautious when it comes to technology. Well, not necessarily cautious, but he puts technology in such a high esteem that if he sees this high-tech technology, he may yield to them instantly. And that makes sense because we know the power of the petrification. And I thought of a way that they could possibly use the device itself to their advantage, because you could show them the device and say, oh yeah, this is used to petrify people. And they'd be like, no, I don't believe you. I can't believe you. And then they could show that, well, you know, when you are unpetrified, y'all all have some sort of black scar on you, right? Like all of you do. And they most likely will confirm to that. And it's like, oh, well, he looks over to Taiju, and he just like, and like the rest of the people, Tsubasa and all of them that are there, and then they could just wipe off the black marks on their face revealing that they are completely harmed. And then Senku explains like, well, yes, but if you're petrified a second time and then unpetrified, then your wounds are all completely healed, even the crack marks that were on your face when you first were unpetrified. And all he would have to do is have his group as an example to prove that this Medusa device actually works and that he can use it on them. From there, we cut back over to Luna. As I said, she was unable to point out Taiju to Stanley for Stanley to shoot him, and that kind of makes sense, not just for the fact that she's gotten to know the people that's on the boat, but it actually makes more of a psychological sense, because when it comes to what she's about to do, she's basically killing someone. It may not be directly, but she is leading to someone's death. And that is something that can like really mess with you psychologically. A good example of it is like sort of like you may have heard a trolley experiment where you have 5 people on one track, 1 person on another, and you have the ability to flip a switch to save the 5 people while killing the individual by just pressing a button. And many people would probably press that button to kill the one to save the 5. But it's a little bit different when you have to take an initial action, because if you change it up, let's just say that instead of a button, you have to push a person in front of the train, and then you'll be able to save 6 while killing 1, but instead you'll be the one actually killing the person. And that's kind of what Luna would be doing. She would be similarly pushing someone onto a track, as in pointing at Taiju and initiating his death. So that's something that like we as humans really don't like to do. So she doesn't do it, but she finds an alternative way of doing it by sending a message over to Stanley, Carlos, and Max. And while she's doing this, you have Ryusui, who noticed this and is like very suspicious of it. His suspicions are obviously confirmed, but it's just good to see that he's just looking at her and he's like, something's up with that girl. And as soon as like she relays the message, we see Dr. Zeno, who most likely hears the message because we know that he has a radio device on his head, and he has this shocked expression on his face. And as soon as she says that, we have Minami, who alerts the group that there's a message going on the radio, and it's going Pika, Pika, Pika. And Senku automatically knows what this is, and it's like, oh, that's an encryption. And everyone is wondering like, oh, it's an encryption, then how do we crack the code? How are we able to get through it? And Senku obviously says, oh, well, we can't really do that. We need a specific device, a spectral analyzer to decode it. And basically what it is explained to be, what a encryption device does, and possibly what it's doing right now, it's distorting a message so that it can not be like caught by the enemy. And we don't know exactly what encryption is or how to decipher it, but I have a fairly good guess of what it is. It's most likely a singular word, and I'll say what that singular word is a little bit later. But we also get Ryusui and how he notices like, well, it doesn't matter if we can't decipher that encryption. We're starting hearing it now, and I know Luna, who was once on the enemy side, backed away from the group, so he's starting to realize, yeah, there's an enemy nearby. As we cut over to Stanley as he's about to take a shot at Taiju, and then we cut over to Dr. Zeno, who's like, Stan, do not shoot, it's a trap, it's a decoy, the real scientist isn't Taiju but Senku. And then we hear him say that it is a decoy, and I think that is what Piga was. Piga might be translated to decoy or fake, indicating that the information that they got was wrong. The scientist isn't Taiju, but it's Senku. As we hear Dr. Zeno remembering his mentee Senku, as we get the final panels of this chapter, where we have Ryusui calling out, sniper, we've got a sniper, there's a sniper on the roof, there's a sniper on the roof, everybody get down, as the chapter ends. He doesn't say that last part, but I know for a fact he's thinking it. And with that, we get to the end of the chapter. All I can really say is, that was a really good chapter. Yeah, this was a really good chapter. Nothing really extraordinary happened. As I predicted, we cut back over to the present while focusing on potentially how the American society came into being. We got the reveal that pretty much everyone woke up at the exact same time, and how, as I stated, the platinum ring was used. And the thing is, it was used in a different way than how Senku used it. That just shows the different ideologies between Dr. Zeno and Senku. How Senku wants to use science to help people, while Dr. Zeno wants to use science to rule over people. So it's very likely that he didn't use the platinum ring to create any form of the petrification formula, especially since we know the petrification formula requires like a specific ratio of nitric acid to alcohol. And because we know that a lot of people woke up at the same time, most likely than not, they're like, all right, we got all the manpower that we need. We don't necessarily need more people. So we're just going to build up society, build up weapons, just in case people have the same idea. They unpetrify, they try to explore the world. They come here, we'll take them over, and if they don't yield, we'll kill them. So that's kind of the idea that we get from Zeno in comparison to Senku. He's like, yeah, no, we need to rebuild society because, you know, I just want to go to space. I just want to know everything. And for me to know everything, best way to do it, talk to people that already know it. So yeah, we get that more duality, as well as we get more establishing of Luna's personality, how she isn't bloodthirsty, she isn't willing to just automatically sacrifice someone or like be the perpetrator of someone's death. So it shows that she really does have a kind heart, as well as, you know, she's gonna fall in love with Senku, which, I mean, really, who doesn't love Senku? I love Senku, you love Senku, probably like someone else watching this video, you also like Senku. Well, if you don't like Senku, then why are you watching this review of Dr. Stone? Come on. And if you've never seen Dr. Stone or read it, go read Dr. Stone. Do it. But yeah, and we also get to see Risui and how we also get more of Risui and how it shows that he is maybe not as intelligent as Senku, but he's just as deductive. He is a good leader, and he was the one to indicate that, yeah, Luna was being weird. We got this weird message. It started when Luna was being weird and left the group. Yeah, the enemy is probably somewhere. It's probably a sniper. Chances are high enough in the next chapter we're probably going to see everyone getting down on the deck. Potentially Senku may either get in the way of Taiju and he may take a shot. Like he may, I know for a fact no one's gonna die. If the mangaka kills off Taiju in the next chapter, I'm gonna be shocked. Mainly due to the fact that there will be no way to revive him. Unless, you know, you can revive a dead body, which I doubt that you can. I highly doubt that's possible, but we just don't know because the Medusa is out of power. We know for a fact you can revive someone that's near death because that's what we did for Tsubasa, but we don't know if you can revive like a completely dead body. I'm fairly certain that you can't, but I doubt that the mangaka is going to kill Taiju or Senku. Maim them, injure them, possibly. They're not going to die. So chances are enough we're going to get more of the continuation of that, as well as probably going to get Luna is going to most likely be detained. But next chapter she may see Senku and be revealed that Senku is a scientist, and she may just completely change sides then and there, and may begin helping out our crew of scientists go against Dr. Zeno and his crew. So yeah, overall, thought it was a really good chapter. Hopefully you enjoyed this manga review for Dr. Stone, as well as I enjoyed recording it. Leave a like, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment if this is a video that you liked. Do all of that cool jazz, and I will catch you in the next video. Goodbye. Woo!